Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Pop Screen, the show that looks at the good, the bad, and the ridiculous of movies and TV shows, either starring by or about pop stars. The podcast covers a broad range of musical and cinematic genres, from country and western to hip-hop, from documentaries to science fiction. I'm just a freak, yeah, and I've been joined this week by...
Hello, it's me. You already know I am Robyn. I am filmmaker, actress, Twitter shitposter extraordinaire, and if I'm on an episode of Pop Screen, you know what that means.
Yes, I mean we've done.
I think this is the worst. I think this is just right off the bat. I think this is noticeably a new low. As I have said before, I feel like this might have... We have gone somehow noticeably lower than even the movie where Martin Kemp played the vampire nonce. To be honest, I think this is what we're dealing with. Anyway, as you were saying?
Yes, yeah. I want to make it clear, first of all, that as with the Martin Kemp movie, as with Embrace of the Vampire, I am unaware that these movies are so noncy when I send them to you. It's not like a personal thing.
Yo, you got to see the nonce movie. You want the nonce movie episode.
Got another nonce episode coming down the pipeline. Get on the blower, Robyn.
Get on that one.
Yeah. This is The Idol, with the Sam Levinson mini-series, which we're doing to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of this important work of art's premiere at the Cannes Film Festival.
Apparently it got like a standing ovation when it played. I don't know. Was that a mistake? Was it just people screaming like... for anybody who's seen Cigarette Burns, the John Carpenter episode of Masters of Horror, I imagine almost by the end of the screening people were like tearing their eyeballs out and just saying it's a premonition of the end times. I do wonder if this is kind of like... I would say I'm being hyperbolic, but the more I think about it, I don't think I am, because
I was unaware of how fresh you came to this because I was following a lot of the news about it when it came out last year, even though this is the first time I've seen it, and I really regret just throwing you into this without a warm-up.
Oh yeah, it was... Quite frankly, there was a point, I believe it was after the third episode, where I thought, if I wasn't doing this for Pop Screen, I would just stop.
Yes.
And I rarely say that, but I'm just like, given what I have just seen, and given that I did, at that point, do a little bit of reading on the production context, I was just
boy.
Yeah, I'm like... But I was thinking... Surely I'm reading into this too much. I don't want to have this bad media literacy moment because I have people just been... And then I watched the final episode and I was just like, oh no, this explicitly confirms to the camera exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, in this case, the bad media literacy is coming from inside the house in that I don't think Sam Levinson knows fully what this means.
Indeed. Yeah.
And not in a good Lynchian way. I think there are bits of this that have just so obviously gotten away from him.
It's deeply... There are some bits where I think, okay, I have heard things about Sam Levinson's previous work. To be fair, in spite of all of the trauma this has given me, I still have a DVD of Assassination Nation, and I'm gonna watch that. I think, and it's kind of... weirdly, the messaging of that seems to be the complete antithesis of what this was. But it's kind of also, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking, from what I know about Sam Levinson, I
Hmm.
can see moments of this and I can think, I know that's a Sam Levinson fuck up. I
Yeah,
know this
yeah.
is something which is dodgy, but is there because it is trademark of just the bullshit that ends up in some Sam Levinson stuff. And
God, yeah.
sometimes I'm like, what the hell happened there?
Yeah. Because my Sam Levinson experience, just to put that in context, is that I've watched about 2/3 of an episode of Euphoria before thinking this is dog shit. And you know, I'm
I've
not a fan of big American box set drama in general. I find a lot of them are pretty empty vessels, but Euphoria is something else. It's bad by the standards of the worst.
I have not actually seen it. Hunter Schafer be damned, I have not seen it. But
Yes.
and we will get into that. We will get into that specifically regarding a theory I have about Sam Levinson. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say it now. You think Sam Levinson's a bit chaser-y?
Right, yes, thank
Yeah.
you. I was mulling whether to say this because, like, he's had, apart from Malcolm and Marie, which was like his little theatrical two-hander with Zendaya and John David Washington. Apart from that, he's had a trans actress in every single movie and TV show he's done, which normally,
Indeed.
round of applause.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
indeed.
Yeah.
I am. I'm getting a vibe.
Because, and I think if this isn't true, this is what's happened, because everything else to do with women in Sam Levinson's show is so fetishized, and he
So
so obviously
horrible.
has he has a type, right?
Yeah.
I'll put it this way: when someone left Euphoria because they said they weren't getting like any storylines written for their character, I did not need to check the article before realizing it was Barbie Ferreira because, like, what does Sam Levinson need with Barbie Ferreira? Once he's gotten people to give him a pat on the back for body positive representation,
Yeah.
that sort of character is of no interest to him whatsoever.
Indeed. It's there's some stuff which absolutely drives me mad about Sam Levinson, particularly as strangely, for all that's considered, for all of the dodginess, somehow the most dodgy part of the show, which is its ending, I think, I watched it and thought, that's pure Sam Levinson.
Yeah.
That's all him. I don't even know it is. That is just. It is symptomatic of everything I've been told about Euphoria and just how he writes women and what he
Yeah.
thinks is empowering in the most dodgy, awful way.
Absolutely, yeah. Like having watched a bit of Euphoria, I can confirm that this is the second Sam Levinson TV series in a row in which a woman uses the word rapey to refer to a characteristic she finds attractive in men.
Yeah, indeed. I and learned that that was like, I mean, it gets consistently worse already in the show, but I've looked into production and the fact that it was, for anyone who isn't aware,
Mm,
was a script which was rewritten pretty much in its entirety by Sam Levinson and The Weeknd. Uh,
yeah.
and specifically, The Weeknd created some interesting scenes, some of
Yes.
which remained in the final cut, and some of which were removed, not because they were the most horrible thing ever, which they were, but because they couldn't figure out the logistics of practically filming them. And that already gives you an idea of what this was like.
Is this the egg bit? Are
It's
you
the egg
thinking
bit.
the egg bit?
I'm thinking
Right,
about the egg bit.
because that firstly, that is like a rip-off of I Know Corrida. That is literally
Yeah.
Sam Levinson just watched In the Realm of the Senses and thought, all right, I can have a woman shove an egg up herself. But
There's so much of this where I'm thinking that I will get into this.
yeah,
Sorry, continue speaking because I have a big point to make here.
Well, the other thing is, even when I read that article because that was in the Rolling Stone article that came out before the show was released, and even then I was thinking you can't work out the logistics of how to film this, but just show her with an egg in her hand and then show the hand going under her skirt. What, like,
I
did your
couldn't figure
daddy
it out.
teach you nothing?
Indeed, yeah, because
Yeah,
truth is, Barry Levinson could direct the hell out of something. He made one of
yeah.
the most terrifying films in recent memory, which was The Bay, a movie which
Oh,
basically
yeah.
became reality, which is really upsetting because of the horrible state of like sewage going in the water. But like, it's just like I'm thinking, seriously, guys, get Barry in here.
Mm,
Come on, call your dad.
yeah.
But one thing I was thinking watching this, and is one of the most hilariously awful elements of this,
Mm,
just because it's embarrassing on so many levels, is the kind of metafictional element of The Idol.
yeah.
And I have planned to talk about this because I was thinking about this the entire way through and thought, oh no, this is so, so funny. Um, I was watching this, particularly I watched the first episode, and it's the entire show is kind of following a pop star having her dark, edgy comeback, her big bad girl comeback,
Mm.
and kind of her thinking, oh, maybe it's not edgy enough and stuff, and kind of, and I kind of look at me, this is the dark, new, powerful me, and I'm just like, and I know Sam Levinson's talking about himself.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
so funny, but this mostly manifests itself via characters randomly saying fuck in the middle of sentences or randomly talking about sex. And it's just like, and it's very, very dubious. It is the stuff which I think the animated show Hazbin Hotel is wrongly accused of, whereas here it is very, very obvious. But I was watching this and watching some of the scenes and thinking, oh, he thinks he's Brian De Palma. He thinks he's like Paul Verhoeven. This is
Yes.
embarrassing because I don't. Who's going to tell him? And no one will tell him. That's the
No.
problem. But I'm realizing with the whole we chose to cover this at the perfect time, and I'm going to get topical here with
Okay.
something which has been relevant because I'm thinking it's going on about this is my edgy new me bad girl return, and I'm thinking, oh no, Sam Levinson's doing a Jojo Siwa.
What Jocelyn is doing here that we don't get is she's inventing straight
She's
pop.
inventing straight pop, and it's oh, it gets so much funnier in that regard when you realize that for Sam Levinson, this is just like with Jojo Siwa, and the big topical joke here. It's just like, no, Sam, this is not your dark, edgy reboot. The only way in which the only bad girl thing you've done is be a bad person.
Yeah. Because it's that that aspect that you mention where you can see that Levinson and The Weeknd, I think, are both
Oh
trying to
yeah.
steer you towards thinking what they want you to think. For me, that manifests itself most clearly in the record company executives.
Oh, before that, I need to say the phrase "from the dark and twisted mind" of Sam Levinson and The Weeknd.
I'd
Uh,
forgotten
had you
that.
forgotten about "From the Dark and Twisted Mind"?
Mm,
Because that was rightfully ragged on so much.
it was,
And
yes.
the problem is, I feel a bit weird about the fact that I get mad about things just being so awful in it because I know they want me to get annoyed about it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know that basically everything is designed part and parcel to cause discourse,
yeah,
and it's just really annoying. We're going to get to the record label executives, and
yeah.
we're going to get to someone's going to get name dropped, and I'm going to say this honestly, and this is a legitimate thing. I would not have volunteered for this episode if I knew a certain someone was in it.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
yeah. Does his name rhyme with really goth?
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, because and we will get to this. It's extra shocking. Yeah, Eli Roth's in this. You
Yeah,
know, Eli
yeah.
Roth is in a drama about industry abuse. And Eli Roth is particularly in the last episode where he gives someone a deal after the lead actress lap dances on him.
Yeah, yeah. And he gets to do the Epstein joke, and he gets to do the Hunter
Yeah,
Biden joke, and he gets to say clown world. He's having the time of his life. This is
yeah,
no
and
acting required.
I'm just like they all talk about like they make all of these jokes about allegations and stuff, and I'm thinking, do you really not know? Like, read the room, specifically read what person is in the room, and has numerous, very very public allegations against them.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just like, fucking hell, that really says it all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it sort of bubbles up and becomes a story, then it might make it quite awkward to revisit this otherwise
Yeah.
blemish-free television
Oh,
show.
indeed. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and also, bizarrely, in one of the strangest details of just, I don't know where I was going with that. This is killing my brain cells.
Well, okay, let me say what I was thinking about the record industry executives, because this gets to like a wider problem with the show, I think, which is that when I went into this, I had prepared some ways in which it might be good. I wanted to arm myself with some routes where I can watch this thing and, I might actually find it's been unfairly maligned. And one argument, which I've seen apply to a million things, including this, usually by that guy from Fat White Family, I have to say, is normally the guy who makes this argument. But you can make the argument that if you want insight into toxic masculinity, it is more interesting to hear what actual toxic male artists have to say than it is to listen to nice liberals who've learned to give the right opinions. And it's like, yeah, but for every Norman Mailer or Dennis Potter, there's like a million Sam Levinsons, and every insight he tries to make into misogyny in this show is torpedoed by the fact that he doesn't want to dissect it that closely. And the record company executives are the clearest example, because they're clearly set up as exploiters of Jocelyn. They're set up as people who don't care about her well-being. They just want her to make a new piece of product that she can churn out. On paper, they may be worse than Tedros. Tedros at least seems to care about her art, but
I
Levinson
can't
can't.
believe you just said his full name then.
Tedros.
Tedros. But I'm not over that. If I hear that name again, I mean, I'm going to, for the purposes of this podcast, we are going to say it numerous times. Why is he named that?
I don't know. Yeah, what is up with that? No idea. But with the record company executives, you have all this dialogue where they're saying, oh, she's mentally ill. So what? Mental illness is sexy. And it's obviously meant to portray them as cartoon bastards. But in the next breath, they say a load of Sam Levinson's opinions,
Yeah,
which
it's
are clearly meant to make you think a certain way about the idol.
it's so utterly bizarre. And the funny thing about all of this is that it tries to make all of these kind of big points, which are all really half-hearted and patronizing,
Hmm.
about a female lead character who isn't allowed to be a character. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing: what's her personality? We don't know. What does she do? Nothing, because she doesn't have any agency. She is just talked about and things are done to her. And this is really interesting in that it really shows you a lot about this, in that Sam Levinson didn't make a character, he made a
Hmm.
prop. And this is
Yes.
really, really quite at the heart of what makes it so disturbing, is
Hmm.
that
And it starts up by sort of Like, I can imagine another director. I can imagine someone like Chantal Akerman doing something where you never get any insight into the lead character's psychology, and that's the point.
And it could work.
It
could work.
The Idol opens by explicitly telling you that it doesn't want to do that. It opens with that long photo shoot, which ends with a single tear falling from Jocelyn's eye. And, like, what is that there to do other than say, we are going deep into this character's emotions?
Yeah. I mean, the show doesn't, but, like...
No. No. And it's like, I heard Derek Jean-France say it, but I'm sure it's been said before, but the opening shot to anything should teach you how to watch it. And what I think the opening to The Idol does is teach you how far this is going to fall from Sam Levinson's expectations.
Yeah.
Because, like, after that, it should be pointed out, that turns out to be a flash forward, but a flash forward to, like, half an hour into the future. And what it does is then immediately double back so we can see Lily Rose Depp get out of bed and see her ass. And then it's the photo shoot.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole lot of that. And the thing is, Lily Rose Depp has spoken about this. And she has brought up, thanks, device will need to restart update out of active hours. That's great. Yeah, what Lily Rose Depp has said is a really interesting detail about her character. In fact, Jocelyn's outfits, as she has said, are performative. Yeah. They are all designed by someone who has been a pop idol from a young age, who has never known anything but to wear something performative and to show off. And I would get that, but it wasn't Lily Rose Depp who decided any of these outfit things, and I know why these outfits are like that. I know exactly why they're like that, because the entire show is just horrendously male-gazy. Like,
completely.
Just the worst.
Like, my first note on her outfits was that between this and Sydney Sweeney in Anyone But You, there is a crisis in Hollywood bikini top fittings.
It's true. Those outfits do not fit her.
No, not at all.
Sometimes outfits, what outfits? I'm just like, did she pick up like some scraps of excess fabric off the floor?
Yeah. I think this is an interesting point when we're talking about Jocelyn's character and the intention behind Jocelyn, to double back and talk about something you touched on earlier, which is the production history of this show, because originally this was going to be a very different series.
Oh yeah, a series I would have loved to see, by the way. It sounded quite good from the start.
Yeah. This was originally going to be directed by, is it Amy Seimetz?
Yes, it is.
Seimetz. Who did Sun Don't Shine and worked on the television series The Girlfriend Experience. And we don't know much about what that series would have been like.
It would have been satirical, to say the least.
Yeah. I think that there are things that we can safely assume it would have been like. But in terms of what we know Anne Heche would have been in it. The late Anne Heche is sadly not in this series, although good for her.
Actually, probably not too sadly. I think she, like, all due respect, I think she did dodge a bullet on that one.
Yeah. Imagine having that as the capstone of your legacy.
Yeah.
There has been a picture that Seimetz released from it, which is like Jocelyn in her sort of turn of the millennium bedroom, covered in turn of the millennium pop star posters, which already is more insight into Jocelyn than you get in all 5 episodes of this.
It's already nothing like the actual series we got.
Yeah. So you wonder, why was this very intriguing series ditched? Why was it scrapped and replaced with Sam Levinson's vision? We've got hints, haven't we? We've got suggestions. Yeah.
I don't want to say it, but ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd. It was going to happen. One of us was going to do it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is on the gossip level at the moment, but a number of sources have said that Abel Tesfaye, The
The
Weeknd,
Weeknd.
who plays Tedros, was uncomfortable with the focus on the cult storyline and what's the phrase he used? Something like leaning into the
Leaning to the
female
female
angle.
experience, yes.
That's it, yeah.
Which is horrendous
Yeah, yeah,
in so many ways and a complete indicator as to what the show would be like.
yes. But it's like, it's also quite baffling because if you take the cult leader thing as accurate, if he was objecting to it being too focused on the fact that Tedros is a cult leader, what the fuck did he want the character to be?
I don't know. I mean, it all seems to be trying. Don't you get it? He's meant to be a sexy, exciting pedophile cult leader, which I was just like, the tone of the series is very concerning. Because
Yeah.
it's a lot where I'm just like, what I'm seeing is really disturbing. Why is the music like that? Why is it shot like that? Why
Yes.
is the music not good? Because like the problem is I'm thinking like The Weeknd's made some good songs. That's the
Mm-hmm.
problem. And I'm listening to the music on this and thinking, this is really not good.
Yeah. I quite like the piano stuff that Susanna Sun does, but
Oh,
that's
yeah,
about it.
that's quite good. In
Yeah.
fact, it's shocking just because the thing is, The Weeknd's not the only musician involved. There's a bunch of
No.
really, really talented musicians involved in this project.
Moses Sumney, Troye Sivan.
Yeah, and we will get back to Troye Sivan because yikes is all I will say right now. Not about him, but how the series treats him is
Yeah,
dubious
at best.
at
Yes.
best.
But the thing with Tedros's character is it is yet another example of how most toxic men who are artists are not Dennis Potter, which is that the fundamental flaw with the depiction of Tedros is that the Weeknd will not allow himself to be seen as someone who does not fuck. It's like after
Well,
after this series came out and it got the reception that it did, which was radioactive, he did a little press tour where he's going around going, oh, this guy isn't supposed to be likable. He's got a rat tail. That was the thing he used to keep saying. He's
yeah,
got a rat tail. Yeah, it's like I
it's
know.
it's
Yeah,
extra funny because the show and clearly him try and make this character kind of, oh, he could allure and charm people. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, you look at him and speaking, even though I'm speaking as a lesbian, I'm looking at this guy and I'm just like, he's got the
I'm
sexual
even more of a
appeal.
lesbian than
Yeah,
I
he's
was.
got the sexual appeal of fucking Krug from the last house on the left. This is a smelly man. I do not like the smelly man. He looks constantly like he has no interest in breathing. I don't know what's going on here. Why is he managing to get all of these people?
But the easiest way you could undercut a character like this, and maybe it's too easy, but would be to make him shit in bed. But the idol really, like,
Oh
it doesn't
no,
it
it is
doesn't even raise
determined.
that in order to subvert it. It really wants you to believe that he is this absolute charismatic, magnetic force of nature who just fucks this girl like she's never been fucked
And
before
he talks about it. He talks about it
all
during
the
the
time.
scenes as
Yeah.
well. During the scenes, and I'm gonna say the sex scenes in The Idol, whether intentional or not, feel designed to appeal to the most bad faith takes on like sex scene discourse going on the internet because it's just
Yeah.
this is single-handedly making things worse for everyone, and also watching this, the degree of writing is basically it is poor fanfiction My Hard Member level writing. It is just like, I am shocked that the word Willy was not uttered in a single one of these sequences, because this is where we're at, and
I watched a stand-up special that Sophie Hagen, the wonderful Sophie Hagen, did about their childhood diary that they filled with erotic Westlife fan fiction. And I was reminded more than once of something a 13-year-old Sophie Hagen would write. It's not particularly erotic. And I mean, you talk about the discourse over sex scenes. This is one thing that I think no one ever gets around to asking. Has anyone considered, when they're writing these, oh, the kids don't like sex scenes anymore? Has anyone considered watching the kind of sex scenes that appear in media aimed at teenagers? Because
yeah.
I think if you watched like 5 minutes of Euphoria, you'd be like, oh, that's why the kids don't like sex scenes.
It's because they're terrible in these. Sam Levinson single-handedly causing damage to the general field of media criticism.
If there's like a renewed Puritan moment, if like everyone in Gen Alpha turns out to be wearing like Amish costumes in their adulthood, it will be Sam Levinson's
The problem
fault.
is, Sam Levinson is really terminally online, and chances are he might watch this, he might listen to this, and he might make a movie about it, because if
He's
you're
done
aware of
that.
why Malcolm and Marie exists,
Yeah.
it is because someone didn't like Assassination Nation and wrote a bad review of it, and he decided to make an entire movie out of spite.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to be fair, Sam, if you make a movie based entirely around this podcast episode, all I'll say is you certainly won't be beating the Chaser allegations then.
It could
So
be.
I would be pleased if Harry Neff was cast.
I was going to say it could be good from a casting perspective. It could be like you as Harry Neff and me as, I don't know, Dan Levy. I could go for that.
Sure,
Yeah, why not?
whatever. Yeah, we shouldn't be giving him ideas. I'm not sure he's made anything in the considerable period of time since The Idol finished.
He hasn't. There was an article recently about him trying to write series 3 of Euphoria, and he is just flying out in all directions. Like HBO rejected, and I just want that to sink in. They rejected the network that accepted this. Rejected scripts where there was a jump forward in time and Zendaya's character was now a private investigator.
He's really wanted to go down the Riverdale route for this. He is really wanting to. You know what? You know what would have been really, really great? You know what I think could save Euphoria? Hear me
Yeah.
out. I've been told I'm great at pitching things. They put Jack the Ripper in it. I think that would save the show. If it worked for Spinal Tap, it'll work for Sam Levinson. We should put a tiny little Stonehenge coming down from the sky. Which, I kid you not, I would do if I was put in charge of a show like Euphoria.
I think they should put it out to tender now. I think it's obvious that Sam Levinson can't write, so they should just pass it round anyone who just thinks they could write a series of a teen drama. Why
Yeah,
not?
I could write a series of a teen drama, but it might involve stone circles. So bear in mind. Bear that in mind.
Yes.
Do be warned, though I did recently watch Love Lies Bleeding, and
Wow.
consider the Bone Canyon, consider the Skeleton Canyon.
Okay. Love Lies Bleeding has shamefully not come on near me, and
If you've
I'm
not
livid.
seen it, that's not a spoiler,
Okay.
and it will make no sense until you see it.
That's fine. I'm treating it as like a little time bomb in my brain for when I get round to it.
Because it will. it is something which is prominent and
Okay.
I basically thought this is the equivalent of me being if I was given a budget to make a film or a TV series and I randomly put, oh yes, and by the way, the haunted stone circle, just as a side detail,
Yeah.
which is ever present, then yeah, this is the degree we're going to. Uh,
But let us now return to the Bourne
um,
Canyon taking place in Jocelyn's mansion, shall we?
Indeed, the fucking Bone Canyon. It, oh, it is that mansion. That
It
mansion is.
it's the Weeknd's mansion, you know?
Is it?
It is, yeah. So he's
Is
like the
it?
Nikos Mastavrakis of pop stars
You're
now.
reminding me of the fact that I have that box set. I have that damn box set of his sex comedies coming along. It's gonna
Is
be.
that what it is? It's
It's his.
specifically the
It's his.
Mastavrakis sex
It's his
comedy.
terrible 80s sex comedies, and I am.
Oh boy.
No one else will be doing that other than me. No one else will be writing a review of that because this is the path I have taken in life.
Yeah, there is a part of even me that he is the phrase sex comedies from the director of Island of Death, and I'm like,
From a director of .com for murder.
you're okay. I can do
And
without
just to
it.
make
I'm
it like
fine.
free for the previous episodes of this that we've done,
Mm,
I gotta
yeah.
say, weird parallels between this and The Comeback. But also The
Yes.
Comeback being for being a movie by Pete Walker, the funny man who says his movies mean nothing and he just wanted to put boobs and blood in movies,
Yeah.
is a far more in tune criticism of the music industry,
Yes,
which
it is.
has a lot more to say.
The film from the director of Frightmare is somehow more tasteful and more believable than this.
Oh, it's true. I mean, Frightmare is well known to be one of my favorite Brit horror movies to the point that I got the writer in my own movie in a small cameo role slash major
Mm,
cameo role. But
yeah.
the thing is, I would not call Frightmare believable or tasteful,
No.
to say the least.
But I mean, this is 0 for 2 because
Yeah.
there's one episode that opens with the world's biggest pop star who the tabloids are obsessed with being eaten out in the back of an
In fact,
open-topped convertible driving through LA. But it's
yeah.
okay, no one notices until it's
Careful, Mr. Bean might flip her off.
that would definitely make this sexier, actually.
Yeah, and it's the funny thing is she pulls up to like the shop,
Mm,
just a random clothing shop, and she pulls up to that shop to crowds of people in a very
yeah,
specific small area. I'm thinking,
yeah,
yeah, it turns out you're invisible from there. That's how like not to name drop more because I have since our Embrace of the Vampire episode watched an interview with the vampire. You
mm,
probably could get murdered by the vampire Lestat on the LA highway, uh,
yes, yeah.
judging by the idol rules. Uh, no
Yeah,
one
there
would
there is
notice.
there is that one shop which has Los Angeles's only pop fans. It's famously, it's not a big media town, LA. So
It's true. It's true.
yeah,
There's nothing in LA, don't you know?
that clothes shop though is what gives Abel Tesfaye his most profound acting workout.
Oh yeah, yeah, it does.
It's
Well, you
yeah.
could call the idol masturbatory, but in this case. He just has a wank. He just has a
Just
wank at a clothes shop, and it's
has
funny.
a wank, yeah.
Very loud. And I'm just like, there are people crowding around every edge of this building.
Yeah.
How do they not know? How is none of this noticed whatsoever? There is no way any of this is as remotely clean or easily dealt with.
Maybe that would help it win some sort of some realism points if it just cut to someone mopping the shiz up
And the thing is, the fourth episode opens with people cleaning stuff up.
Yeah, yeah.
So to the random stereotypical Mexican cleaners who are there for no apparent reason.
We haven't seen them before. We'll never see them again. But here they
No,
are.
they're there for like a moment, and then they're gone. But I don't think we're in any more episodes.
But it's one of those things, isn't it, where I realise that, as you've said yourself earlier, anytime you really slag something like this, there's a risk that it's what the show wants you to do. There's a risk that someone will say, "Oh,
Yeah.
looks like Snowflake here couldn't handle the
Oh, looks like the
dangerous."
woke snowflakes are sympathizing with
Yeah.
Frankenstein's monster again.
But when there is something which is like flagged up by the show as shocking, it's so fucking lame. There's like a scene where those cleaners are like picking up a dildo.
Oh,
And
you see that there?
yeah,
You
and you're
see
meant
that?
to think, oh my god, this is how out of control it's got. The women are masturbating now. It's the end
Oh, don't
times.
you know? Oh, Sam Levinson himself comes out in like a Amish pilgrim dress.
But every time it wants to shock, it's like really limp 9.5 weeks kind of stuff. And every time it doesn't want to shock, you think, oh my god, the people who made
Awful.
this should be in jail.
Yeah, it's but there's a really weird element, and I'm gonna get into this because we're talking about the house.
Mm.
Troye Sivan.
Yeah, yeah,
I think we should talk about him and about the show's strange attitude to queerness, which gets more and more concerning with each episode.
yeah.
To the point that Troye Sivan, after it is basically revealed, no shit, that his character is gay, is repeatedly, suddenly subjected to extensive sequences of electroshock torture. I don't know
Yeah.
fully why this happens, but
Yeah, the fact that it's electroshock
I
is like
know, right?
particularly, yeah.
And he is extendedly tortured more than almost anyone else in the show.
Oh God, yeah, because
Yeah.
before this, it's absolutely baffling how Ted Ross has managed to get control over anyone. Because he's got no charisma. He's not threatening. We see him try and threaten someone in the clothes shop, and you just think, what an acting challenge it must have been to not laugh in his fucking face.
There's a bit where the record execs turn up and he just looks like he's off of fentanyl or something. He's just like
Yeah.
stand dissociating. He's gone. I think he died.
So, like, obviously, the velvet glove stuff doesn't work. The stuff where it's like, oh, he controls people by being so good at sex. Yeah, all right. If there
Yeah.
was any evidence of that, then. So this is the Iron Fist. This is the one look at Ted Ross as a violent controller we get, and it goes on for, I think, 9 years of screen time.
It's by the end I'm thinking they're still at it. They cut away, and then he's just still like prone on the couch, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
huh? And the weirdest part is that this barely leads up to anything.
No.
Because this leads to, again, the amount of times that false rape allegations come up in this is really concerning.
And in Levinson's work in general, yes.
It's particularly in this. That's what his character builds up to. That's what it builds up to. And that doesn't actually mean anything in the grand scope of things. It's also noticeable how important things to the plot happen off screen and are skipped over in time skips. And I'm Harry Neff's character.
Yeah, the time skips thing is particularly baffling to me because as I was watching this, and particularly as Harry Neff's character sort of comes in and goes out of it, she's in the first and the last episodes. I came away with the impression that this has happened in like about 2 days because it starts off with the record company executives are fretting that Jocelyn has a single out at the end of a week, which she hasn't shot a video for, which, by the way, Chinny fucking reckons that's not how it works. But anyway, they're worried about that. And there's also going to be a major Vanity Fair profile on her written by Talia, played by Harry Neff, that's also coming out on Friday. And in the last episode, after all this has happened, after, Jocelyn's met Tedros, after she's nearly been usurped by Jenny from Blackpink in an absolute nothing of a role.
Who just exists to make Harry Neff's role weirder, because I'm sure she has. Is it, hey, Talia, delay that coverage? And it's just like, delay which one? The 5th article she's been meant to write this entire thing.
Yeah. And it's like, in between these two things happening, a cult has moved into Jocelyn's house and established itself there. And it's extraordinary. I have watched episodes of Stephen Moffat era Doctor Who, which have not left me as confused about the chronology of this.
I do love when in the 4th episode a character is inserted in as some kind of like undercover kind of person for the record label, and it turns out that's all already happened. Within the seconds of her appearing, and I'm just like, huh? But back to like Talia's thing, right by the end, after a time skip, it says, oh yeah, during the time skip she was single-handedly responsible for Tedros's downfall.
Yes. But let's just take a moment to appreciate the brilliance of the record company's plan at the end. That there seems to be a moment in the 5th episode where they're like, oh, we don't have to listen to this dickhead and do everything he says. So they bundle him out into a van, they make him a monetary offer to never see Jocelyn again, and he turns them down. So they go to plan B, which is to call Talia and go, hey, Talia, you know that story you promised your editors about the biggest pop star in the world going through her biggest crisis to date? Would you like to spike it and get an exclusive about some nobody of an LA club owner? And naturally, she's like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, for some reason, but bizarrely, in one of the strangest moments where suddenly, because during the final scenes of the show, I mean, there's more to talk about before we get to that, but there's just extended scenes of like, wanting us to feel sorry for him, of all things. He like mopes around, and then cut to possibly the strangest shot in the entire show, which is the 3 record execs turning to each other and saying, oh, we ruined him, and then doing the Dr. Evil laugh, and I'm just like, sorry, what? Can we go back to that? What was that?
Because you assume that as soon as Talia's story is published, the general public is like, wow, there's a criminal element in LA nightlife. This is
oh,
something
that's a
else.
real shock.
Yeah, it's going to be a sensation all over the world, right? We know that.
What the hell is this?
But that ending is like the bit with the record execs is yet another example of the fact that Levinson cannot satirize these people because he is these people. And they have all these embarrassing bits of dialogue about how to think people said Jocelyn's new album was going to be misogynistic. What do they know? And it's like, oh, Sam, in your head, this was the lap of honor, wasn't it?
It's so funny, and I mean it's atrocious in so many ways. There is so much of the show which actively offends me, and also it has far too many "whoa, what are you gay?" lines in it for a show made in like whenever it was made. I've completely forgotten.
I think that like there probably is an element where they're meant to depict Tedros as being insecure, and I can see Sam and Abel
I get
being
that.
they're the kind of guys who would think that's a groundbreaking point. But as you say, Troye Sivan's character Xander is the only textually queer person here.
Bizarrely, not really including Harry Neff.
Yeah, you've sort of assumed
no, you get
Talia Yeah.
To quote Logan Ashley Kinsner, or Logan Ashley Kinsner, I mispronounced his name. This is definitely a Schrodinger's transsexual situation.
Yeah. Because
It's
it introduces queer actors like Harry Neff and Dan Levy and loads of people, but it only mentions Troye Sivan's character as like the only one who and I don't know. I felt like when you first meet Talia, there are these sort of odd shots of her just sort of looking down admiringly at Jocelyn dancing in these skimpy outfits, and I think there is no way that Sam Levinson wanted to have a romantic plot line between these two characters. So I assume he just is this bad at basic film grammar, right?
I do wonder. It's really funny. Just as a side note, the filmmaking gets worse with each episode.
Yeah.
This is really, really strange. Is that I noticed with each episode that goes by, the blocking of shots gets a bit dodgier, and
Yes.
the edits get a little bit more rough. And as it goes
Yeah.
on, more and more, it's particularly, I think, for all I say, I think it maybe peaks with the fourth episode, where there is just the most confusing slew of edits,
Mm.
where I'm thinking, they didn't get enough shots there. Why would you cut
Yeah.
from that to that? Things just happen whilst the camera's not on people, just randomly when they probably should be, and the
God,
character's just
yeah,
done
that is
something off
so
screen.
true.
And I
Yeah.
don't know why, but it throughout the series gets worse. And it's very, very strange.
Well, Sam Levinson's author trademark is that he never does a shot list, and
I know.
apparently the like shooting days on Euphoria sometimes stretch out to about 18 or 20 hours because he doesn't have any plan for what he's doing. So yeah,
That sums it all up, really. He doesn't have a
yeah,
plan
we're
for what
seeing
he's
the
doing.
fruits of that in The Idol. Yeah. There's a big cast in this, and I just want to sort of go through some of the people we haven't mentioned. We did briefly touch on Rachel Sennett.
Yes. Well, we maybe touched on Rachel Sennett before recording. I believe I
Oh
brought her up
right,
in
yeah,
conversation. Rachel
mm,
Sennett is in it.
yeah,
I won't call her the show's saving grace because she doesn't save the show, and
no,
also she just disappears. But for brief moments in this utterly abysmal show, it really is proof. Like there are lots of very talented people involved in this,
yeah,
but it just proves just how good a comic performer she is, because she
yes,
manages to make some really funny lines when she's allowed to in the first two episodes, and it's kind of
hmm
doing the industry critique plot as opposed to
mm,
just, well, industry critique plot, whatever that might
yes,
come to
yeah,
being. But when she's allowed to say things in like kind of to the record execs, they're really funny. I'm
mm.
not even sure if the lines are funny. It's just that she says them in a really, really funny way. It,
I like the bits later on where Stennis is kind of like Jocelyn's PA, I guess. She
yeah,
stays in the house and helps her out with everything. And later on, when it just becomes like scene after scene of Jocelyn having public sex with Tedros, there are these very funny moments that I don't think are meant to be funny, where it'll just cut to Rachel Sennett making a face, and
yeah.
all of a sudden we're back in Shiver Baby. It's great.
There's extended periods where she's just on the phone complaining about people, and it's actually pretty hilarious. And I really don't think it's meant to be, but it's she just delivers it so well. And I'm just like, and the problem is her character gets done really dodgy as well
Yeah,
later on,
yeah.
and then she disappears. When she's gone,
Yeah, that is a shameful case of a dangling plot line because she's like paired off with the Moses Sumney character Isaac.
Mhm.
Um, and it's sort of again at this point we haven't actually seen Tedros do anything threatening or manipulative. We are just led to believe that he gets people into his cult because he's a great lay. And then Levinson cleverly parallels this by having exactly the same thing happen, but with two different characters.
You
Yeah,
know.
good
You know.
writing. Yeah.
Makes you think.
So yeah, that's shit, obviously. I have a soft spot for Dave. I enjoy Randolph's performance in this because she seems to be
Yeah.
trying to turn it into a better program.
Indeed. Yeah, she's really trying.
But not even just her, although I think she is very good. Even the character is like, it seems like she's almost breaking the fourth wall and saying, it doesn't have to be like this. We could do something good. There's a bit in episode 4 where she's talking to Hank Azaria, who's playing a record company executive from the country of
Yeah, indeed. Who is, for the most part, pretty alright.
yeah, yeah.
In fact, it's the scenes with him and Jocelyn, which are the only scenes where she's allowed to be a human being,
That's
which
very
is quite
true.
interesting.
Yeah, it's a more interesting relationship there. But there's a bit where Dave Joy Randolph is talking about Tedros, and she says, "Why don't we kill him?" And he says, "Yeah, why don't you kill him? Why have you not done that?"
There are so many points in the show where I thought, they're going to come in and they're going to shoot him in the head. I thought this was going to happen. It's not like he's going to put up much of a fight. He's just a guy, mostly. I know it sets up there are people with, assault rifles outside who disappear. They're never seen again. I don't know why that is featured.
Could we just take a second to appreciate that, because there's one of them who has this tattoo on the back of his head that says "Life is warm," and the camera lingers on that. And he's like one of Tedros's heavies, and he comes into a room at one point and very conspicuously lays a gun on the mantelpiece, a gun which is never used again, proving that Sam Levinson really is no Chekhov.
Indeed, it's whenever you see that tattoo, it is setting up something's going to happen with this guy, or this guy's going to be involved in the scene somehow. And he never is. This man does nothing. He isn't actually involved in the plot remotely. I'm not certain he does anything at any point.
No. He doesn't even get to have sex with someone from Jocelyn's entourage, which is the only method of control that there is. Yeah.
I am shocked that no one dies throughout the course of this, whether due to poor hygiene or just them completely losing it.
Of embarrassment.
Of embarrassment, yeah. I mean, I died. That doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason why. And also, the show sort of admits this, I think, because when the Vanity Fair piece that was heard around the world comes out, the effect it has on Tedros's cult is that they all just go, oh well.
No, turns out you were bad.
Yeah, I'm following Jocelyn now. Friendship ended with Tedros. Jocelyn is my new cult leader now.
Yeah, legit. I mean, it's like, see, she calls her fans her family. That's kind of like what the Weeknd Charles Manson said, and it's just like, I'm just like, see, you get it. Music industry kind of be like a cult. I am saying thing, and I'm just like, Sam Levinson, please take a bath in muddy drain water.
Yeah. So yeah, there's one other person that I really want to bring up, because again, this is someone like the Life is War guy who gets a massive build up and then does just south of jack shit, and it's Mike fucking Dean.
Yes, it's Mike Dean.
Everyone.
It's Mike Dean. Mike Dean. They build him up for at least 2 episodes before he shows up. And
he shows up stumbling out of a limo, smoking a bong, with a cigar in his other hand and a jacket that says MWA.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy's so cool. I want to be this guy.
And you know what he does? I mean, he mostly, to be fair, he comes out largely unscathed-ish from this project, partially because he does nothing. You know what he does for the rest of it? He smokes weed in the corner.
Yeah.
That's what he does the entire time.
He's trying to muscle in on Rachel Sennett's reaction shots during bad sex scenes.
Yeah. He's just in the background. Occasionally he'll say something. He'll just like, "Hey, get a load of these guys," or something. Or just like, "Yeah, this sucks, mate," and then just like take a fat bong rip and quite right. That's all he does. He's just in the corner, just getting high. I don't actually know what the relevance of him being there is, because they build him up to do stuff, and he does some beats for some
Yeah,
music. They're
yeah.
pretty good, I think.
I mean,
The music's not, but the beat is.
yeah, part of it's working, but it's like obviously the Weeknd bigs him up because he is the Weeknd's regular collaborator, but it's another part where you're like, you want to go to Abel and say, did you have any perspective on why Tedros was bad other than he has an unflattering haircut? Because there's in between these
Genuinely.
hints to Mike Dean's production genius, there's a load of stuff about how, oh yeah, Tedros knows him. He comes to Tedros's nightclub. They've worked on music together a lot, and you're like, that doesn't say much good about this fictional version of Mike Dean. It makes me
Yeah,
think he is probably involved in sex trafficking,
it's
is the
definitely.
implication. And I don't think they meant to imply that.
Yeah, it's. I'm just looking at that, and the fact they constantly bring him up as Kanye's producer. And bear in mind, when this was made, they have like Eli Roth make a joke about this, and I'm just like,
Yes.
yeah, but he actually is though. Let's bear that in
Yeah.
mind. And also, I'm just like, I don't know what the hell this show thinks. Everything it says is so contradictory
Yeah.
in every single way that I'm just like, there are so many lines which are just here to be like, haha, see, that was a topical, shocking, edgy thing. And I'm just like,
Yes.
yeah, what are the implications of any of this?
Yeah. And it's like it's strange that it is so muddled because it is also so didactic. Like the back half of episode 3 is
Yeah.
given over to like a discussion about how art comes from suffering that I think Darren Aronofsky would find a bit too simplistic.
Yeah.
And yet it still manages to muff up the message after this.
Yeah, I gotta say, I kind of hoped this would go a bit Hellraiser, and it didn't.
It did feel like I had opened the lament configuration.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, with cinematic parallels, the most recent Hellraiser they did have Jeffrey Epstein being murdered by Cenobites. So this is like,
I
which is a
didn't know
real
that.
thing. If you don't remember that, that it's version of Frank, in the new one, which I actually quite like. I think
Okay.
it's an all right film. But it's kind of a hilarious detail where you realize partway through, oh no, he's Jeffrey Epstein. And it's just like, that's who he's meant to be. And it's just like, nah, the Cenobites got him. And I'm just like, I am losing my shit.
Epstein didn't flay himself.
Didn't play himself, and didn't turn himself into some horrible kind of walking contraption. Look, all I'm saying is, if Clive Barker had made The Idol, it would have been better.
Oh God, yeah.
Where is Clive at the moment? Can he do something?
Can we stage an intervention? Can he do
Could,
Series 3 of
could he?
Euphoria?
That would be fun. That
Yeah.
would be really, really fun. He'd probably find a way to turn it into his version of The Mummy that never got made because studios suck. I want to see that Mummy movie that he wants to make. But anyway, The Idol.
The Idol. Yes. We should probably bring this to a close. There were 3 pages of goddamn notes that I made about this, but I feel like after a while you cannot say any more about it that is not just detailing the ways in which it finds new ways to make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah. And indeed, it's just consistently just when you think, oh no, it can't get any worse. Sam Levinson brings out the hairbrush, and then you're just like, oh no,
But,
oh dear.
it's a big message, right? Isn't it? Robin is the
Oh yeah,
who is the real abuser?
he's the real abuser.
Is it the person being abused or the abuser?
Don't you get it?
Makes you think.
Makes you think. Sam Levinson said, you know what message of my proper feminist show? You know what is real? You know what women be lying. And I'm just like, sorry, what? It's just like, and you know it would be really empowering if you got back with your abuser but made it girl boss and you introduced him to all your fans on stage in an extended sequence, which made me go, no way.
That shows how little Levinson and Tesfaye understand abusers, though, doesn't it? Because they want you to think that Tedros is being shamed there, and all you can think is, oh man, he's standing on stage in front of an adoring crowd cheering him. This is gonna go right through him.
Yeah, and even the funny thing is, for something about the music industry, I don't, and something with the Weeknd involved in it, I think this understands very little about music tastes and what gets charting, because they're saying, oh no, it won't get charting, that's got sex and moaning noises in it. And I'm thinking, like, I'm going to need to flash back to a couple of years ago as to what the #1 single on streaming was.
Well, that was the thing I wrote in my notes, which immediately became ironic when they hear that version of World Class Sinner where there's loads of sex noises on it and they're all scandalized. I thought, right, this is an alternate history thing where Donna Summer never existed. But then the end credits to that episode do actually play Love to Love You, Baby. So it's like Levinson knows this wouldn't be scandalous. It was barely scandalous in the 1970s.
It's not quite as scandalous as The Weeknd covering a John Lennon song about beating your wife, which is incredibly on the nose and so strange.
One of the things about the songs in this, particularly as it gets into the end stage, is that it wants you to think that the songs, particularly the songs that the cult members are playing, are disturbing. You know, they're signs of the control that he has them over. And all I'm thinking is, some of these are actually less creepy than the shit the Weeknd put on his early mixtapes, if I'm honest. Ooh, there's a song about spiking someone's drink. You wouldn't get clean living woman respecting pop star Abel Tesfaye singing that.
No, you wouldn't go out with him there. I'm starting a beef with Tedros. Tedros are going to post his address online and a photo of his house. I don't know when this episode is going to come out. I hope that still lands. I hope this hasn't gone horribly, horribly wrong by that point.
Well, we're going to put this out at the end of May to commemorate, as I say, the first anniversary of its premiere. So, I mean, the Weeknd is tangentially involved in the Kendrick Drake thing. So this could end up being an episode in memorial.
Yeah, I really do. I do wonder. This is like the hell episode of Pop Screen. It was like the evil hell episode of Pop Screen. Pop Screen, if it was like wrong. But I guess that's what it's like whenever I'm got on, because it's just like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about the nonce vampire movie. We're going to talk about the whatever the fuck the Weeknd was doing here.
Yeah.
It's not quite, but there's a point.
Yeah,
there is a point where words fail me.
Let me say this in terms of its cumulative effect. By the end of it, I knew two things. I knew that there's never going to be a series 3 of Euphoria, and if I hear that fucking "I'm just a freak" song one more time, I will go on a killing spree.
I liked that bit where he said, "I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo" in it. That was really funny.
Yes.
For record, for anyone who's not seen The Idol and don't watch The Idol, please don't. I'm laughing, but it hurts.
Yeah, we're laughing through the pain this week, I think.
It's true. This made me the Joker. I think this turned me into the Joker. You want to know how I got these scars?
These emotional scars.
The Weeknd. What the hell was this?
He had, he seemed to have wanted a whole acting career out of this. He said, like, if you look at the posters and the marketing for when this came out, he is billed as Abel the Weeknd Tesfaye, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm transitioning out of the Weeknd alter ego. I'm going to be Abel from now on." He signed up to do a film by Trey Edward Schultz where he would star opposite Barry Keoghan, and I assume he has thought better of that. Because he's going to be wiped out if that goes ahead.
But Barry is decidedly like Barry can outact a whole bunch of people, but here I think it will. Closed casket is all I'm saying. That's gonna be. It's gonna take him out.
Yes. So, man, I think we've got to say we've done it. We've done it.
We've
like
done
it's
it.
Finished.
We've done it. It's over. No more. No season 2. They're not doing a season 2.
Someone keeps taking this off Letterboxd, and I assume they are the last person who's optimistic that there's going to be another season of this.
Indeed, I'm thinking constantly. It's just like they've said there's not going to be another season. To be honest, I am praying for its downfall. I mean, it can't fall any further. Stop, it's already dead, etc. But like,
I mean, say them announcing that it's going to be a mini series has big sort of J.K. Rowling saying, "I won't accept Daniel Radcliffe's apology."
I won't accept this apology.
No one fucking asked.
Apology for what?
But yes, we've done it, and I think the best thing about this episode is that neither of us will ever watch The Idol again.
I'm so glad of that. I am so incredibly happy about that. You know who they could get? You know who they could get to do The Idol season 2? You know who they could get to do that?
Who?
I think, if we approached Paul Verhoeven about this, I feel like he would think it is in bad enough taste that he would find it funny enough to direct it.
Yeah.
Because I think you get Harmony Korine to do it because he would just. I think that man thrives on hatred. I think every time anybody gets annoyed at anything he does, he gets stronger. He gets stronger and more annoying, and I like that.
I want Harmony Korine to do the Idol series 2 in the style of Trash Humpers.
Oh, I've just realised. At some point, do you know who Aggro Drift stars?
Yes,
Have you thought about the fact that it stars Travis Scott?
Noted murderer Travis Scott, yes.
Yeah, noted murderer Travis Scott. What's the chances of a pop screen episode?
Now you've offered evens. I assume that was an offer and you haven't just...
No, that wasn't an offer. My offer is Rat Finker Boo Boo. My offer is Rat Finker Boo Boo, and you know it is.
But I would totally do an episode on any qualifying Harmony Korine film because that man's a fascinating edgelord.
There are so many of his movies feature musicians. That's really strange. It's
yeah.
And I've quite enjoyed. I mean, get me back pronto for the Spring Breakers episode if you do that because I love that film.
I would happily do Spring Breakers episode. I don't think I've found anyone else who's as enthusiastic about covering it as I am. But
it's insane. It's got a sex offender in it. That's not good. But like, love the film.
We've been through the fire with that this week.
We certainly have. Yeah. I think Embrace of the Vampire was more respectable than The Idol in the sense that it was a work of fiction. I feel like, when watching it, I wasn't thinking this is saying actively bad things about Martin Kemp.
Yeah, I think Martin Kemp's back in my good books after those Thomas mock documentaries that he does.
Yeah, Nico was always in my best books. Nico Bastarakis, that is.
Yeah.
The icon, the man, the myth, the legend, the funny Greek man from the episode which you'll only have heard if you're subscribed to the Geek Show Patreon.
Right, and what better
Yeah,
advertisement for
indeed.
subscribing to the Patreon is there
You
than that?
you gotta subscribe to that, because trust me, that specific episode is it is responsible for everything that has come since with with Pop Screen, with the hilarious, awful, terrible things which I've discussed.
It's all
Uh,
been like tit for tat since then, hasn't it? We've all
yeah,
tried to uncover something to bring back the delicious pain of
yeah.
.com for murder.
.com for murder, .com for murder, allegedly starring not Roger Daltrey. Is
I
it?
was Roger
It
Daltrey.
was
Yeah, it
Roger
was Roger
Daltrey.
Daltrey. Yeah,
No, yeah, it was Roger Daltrey. It's got allegedly starring Roger
easy
Daltrey for
to
one
forget.
scene.
Yeah, because
Yeah, and
yeah,
Huey Lewis minus the news. Uh,
yeah.
it,
There's hard
it's a
bitten
good
VIP
episode. It's a good
Lewis.
episode. It's probably the second best film we've covered on this podcast, and it's atrocious. Uh, Considering that the highest praise I can shower on a film which we've covered for this podcast is the comeback was pretty decent.
Yeah,
This is basically, this shows kind of the caliber of what we're dealing with, but I hope we don't get worse than The Idol. It will happen probably inevitably in the future, but
I
I hope
struggle to imagine it. I honestly do.
I do. I struggle to even imagine The Idol, to be honest. It's a hard thing to comprehend that something could actually go to that egregiously bad a length.
Yeah, yeah. So, Robin, where can people find your work online?
Well, if you want to take a peek into my sick and twisted mind, hint, hint. If I do a trailer for the Eastern Gospel, I'm going to have to be held back from putting from Sick and Twisted Mind of Robin Adams. But especially as it would be completely tonally inappropriate.
Yes.
But if you want to find me, I am technically still on Twitter, simply for purposes of it's where I get things out there for the Geek Show and stuff. You can find me at the Geek Show, definitely. I write reviews semi-frequently. You can find that there. There will be more. But you can find me on Instagram. Most of these are at Real Robin Adams. And I'm on Letterboxd as well, if you want to catch my dubious thoughts on films. Yesterday I watched Tarot, which is a bit of a shit show, but had some stuff in it which I quite enjoyed. And yeah, you can find me there. That's it. Also, you can possibly find the Eastern Gospel, or rather, you can find a means of watching it, depending on if it actually gets selected for something at some point soon enough, which might be known by the time this episode comes out, but I don't know.
But if people are following you on social media,
If people
they'll
are following
find
me on
out.
social media, you will
Yeah,
find out.
yeah.
You will definitely find out. Uh,
Cool.
so, yeah. And Graham's in that.
I am, yes. Yeah, I think my one whispering ghost voice is the thing that really tips
It
it
is.
over the
It is.
edge, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
might be the highlight of the film. Maybe. Possibly. Yeah.
But yes. Yeah, aside from listening to my spooky voice in the Estrogen Gospel, I am also on Letterboxd. Just search for Graham Williamson. I'm on Instagram at Graham W Films, which is also my Twitter handle, but I never check that anymore. I'm currently working on a new project for the Northern Expression scheme, which will go out early next year. That'll be on at Scarborough Art Gallery. And I'm on the Geek Show, of course. Yes. But we'll be back in a fortnight's time with more Pop Screen. Until then, I've been Graham.
And I've been Robin.
And we'll see you later.